Welcome everybody. Welcome to our AGM. Thank you for coming. Thank you for joining us online. I think our AGM just feels like a bit of a rite of passage as we give thanks for 1 year and just start to think about what's to come. Just wonder if we can have apologies for absence. No? Bishop Roger is on his way. We have adjusted the meeting time and his diary. He is on his way, but he will be joining us as the meeting has already started. I'm just going to open in prayer. Let's just have a moment of quiet. Lord, we want to give thanks for the work of the food bank in this area. And we have choirs of angels joining in.
Duty.
Lord, be with us as we mark this last year and want to be wise looking forward to the coming year. Lord, be with us now. Amen. Amen. Okay, we have the minutes from the previous AGM in hard copy. For those of you who attended, can you just check that they are a fair record of what you witnessed? And those who were not here, if there's anything that doesn't make sense in retrospect, we want to put these minutes on file. Are we happy for them to be approved? Okay, thank you, Paul. Thank you for the minutes. We now approve these. Julie, question?
No, I thought I was voting.
Oh, okay. Julie's happy to vote, so we've approved them. I will sign them. (22) 9/22. I'd like to just give a brief report. You may have had a chance to see it in the AGM report, but sometimes it's quite nice to hear it from the horse's mouth. And there's a couple of little thank yous I want to say at the end. Why invite someone to a party and then say it's cancelled? Maybe that's what it feels like to hear that we are planning to close the food bank by 2030. When I shared this thought last October at quite an important stakeholders meeting, it naturally made for uncomfortable hearing because we are passionate about serving our clients, and just to put on record, we will continue to be passionate about serving our clients, providing food parcels. So it may sound ridiculous with the cost of living crisis coming up that we're planning to close, but I think it challenges us to hold attention where we don't live with food banks in the 21st century being normal, part of the everyday landscape. I think we want to say they shouldn't be part of everyday life. Welcome, Bishop Roger.
Thank you.
Apparently, it's seen as ridiculous making this statement, and we've been figures of fun in some organisations. But we're deadly serious about the work of eliminating food poverty. And in North Essex, we're passionate about delivering these parcels and signposting to our clients. But the reality is that we are ageing as a charity. And when you get to your teens, you start to get tired of playing with some of the things that you played with when you were younger. You get a bit more serious and you want to be a bit more intentional about your impact in life. We've done charity and we will remain charitable to every client who comes to us. And we recognise that we've grown, but we need to be intentional about closing, otherwise we choose to become complicit in food poverty. And yes, I have had that thrown at me. If we stay comfortable, we build a castle and reign for 1,000 years. Instead, we as a charity want to enable a way of life where the hold of food poverty in North Essex is broken. I'd rather fail and be ridiculed than put the slippers on and raise a toast to our success. And folks, I have brought my slippers with us. So, you know, that's the easy way of life, but instead I've gone for a pair of trainers because I think we're going to need trainers for the next month. But the slippers are there. As a constellation of food banks, we are evolving beyond the core business of food parcels and signposting, and we're playing with the idea as trustees about investing in people. Instead of being frozen by the prospect of the cost of living crisis this winter, we're dusting ourselves down and ready for a scrap. We will be leaning into the challenge collectively, and as an organisation we have the memory of weathering the last austerity season after the banking crash. We're a lot more professional and broader now, and we will meet the challenge square on. We know that we have the goodwill of so many decent local people, and we know that folks in crisis desperately need our support. But we are no longer just going to address each crisis as it presents. We want to swim upriver and start deep analysis of the causes of the crisis. To folks mired in despair, we want to move beyond handouts to igniting rocket packs. It will look different at times, and yes, we will make mistakes, but we will not be getting complacent. If we've created a beautiful monster, we are intentional about taming it. Thank you for taking interest in Colchester Foodbank and its many wonderful satellites. And we pray for every blessing in this challenging season. Thank goodness for the talent and generosity we bring to this battle. Maybe the party hasn't been cancelled, but the mood music has changed. One thing I'd like to do is say thank you to Clive, who is stepping down as our treasurer. And I thought I'd try and buy some appropriate gifts for Clive to say thank you for his years of service. I'm not sure if it's 10 years, 11 years or 12 years. But I did get some things for him, and I was thinking of ancient and to do with finances. So I've managed to get a Roman coin fridge magnet. Hopefully Clive doesn't feel too insulted by me using the phrase ancient. I think Mike has also deftly helped us steer around some financial banana skins. So we've got a pair of socks with banana skins on them. And I guess I really wanted to get some chocolate coins, but that would have been too obvious. So I've got him some chocolate with some nuts in, because you've got to be a little bit nutty to be involved with Colchester Foodbank. We do have a card, and if you'd like to sign that on the way out, please do. But they'll be going to Clive with our blessing. We have also sent a little gift off to other trustees who've stepped back. Sir Bob is stepping down as a trustee, but he's carrying on as a patron, and we are really grateful that for all the years of wisdom that Sir Bob has given us, and but he remains very much a live and kicking patron, and we will be seeking wisdom from him as well as Bishop Roger. So, many thanks, and I think we'll deal with questions at the end, but there might be thoughts and questions that you want to offer. Bishop Roger, have you had time to collect your breath and arrive, and are you happy to share some thoughts?
Yes.
Please come forward.
That's a nice hoodie you're wearing. It's a very smart hoodie. It's very, very nice. I didn't want to say anything too much today, except brace yourselves. I don't know what the next few months are going to be like. And I'm probably more pessimistic than many people, but I think we're in for a tough time. A really, really tough time. And I think that there is a collision of two things that are happening. There is what is referred to as the cost of living crisis, although talking to people for whom this really bites, they don't like that term. Because actually cost of living crisis doesn't go any way to explain the absolute dire situation in which people are finding themselves. It's already getting close to the point where some people will be putting on their head. Some people will not. Simply because they cannot afford even the bills that are coming in at the moment. And the choice between eating and eating that many have faced before may not be a choice at all, because it may be that they can do neither. We have a situation at the moment where all the economic indicators are suggesting not just that the poor will be poorer, but that there will be more of them. And I personally feel a great sense of kind of foreboding as we go into the winter and then into 2023. The collision I talked about is because I do not feel that the decisions that are being made which affect all of our futures will go any way to helping those in the direst circumstances. Lower taxes mean nothing when you don't earn enough to pay tax. Bigger bonuses for bankers mean nothing when you're not a banker. Business rates relief, all the changing of restrictions around certain parts of industry to loosen things up and to let industry take control, in the hope that as the rich get richer, something may trickle down. I'm afraid I'm with President Biden. I've had enough of trickle-down economics. It doesn't work. So I see no help on the horizon from those who have the power to do something about things. And I see some very difficult situations ahead. I received an email today from somebody who works for another charity that helps alleviate some of the issues facing those of limited means, and they're saying, what can we do? What can we do collectively? We need to find some good ways of responding to the disaster that lies ahead. And we need to do that constructively, collectively. I, like many of you, I'm sure, watched the Queen's funeral on Monday. And I was really struck by the fact that the elements of that funeral were probably entirely chosen by the Queen while she was still alive. So something of the message of that funeral was her last broadcast to this nation. And the final prayer of blessing talked about how we are to be with one another. That actually something of that render to no one evil for evil, helping those in need and stuff like that was in that final blessing is very much, I think, the command to us, and a timely one given all that we face. For me, charity and justice are very close partners. The food bank isn't just a handout or a hand up, but it is the willingness to stand alongside those who are not benefiting in the way that they justly should, and to work hard for justice for them and for this nation. And I think in the months ahead we need to do that. Where there is no vision, the people perish. That's what the Bible says. One translation of that is where there is no hope, people cast off restraint. We could be in for a very turbulent few months ahead. And I think it's incumbent on all of us who have a passion and a care for those in need to be doing something and saying something, not just to alleviate poverty, but to be asking why in such a well-to-do nation we are allowing people to starve, to freeze, to suffer. And we have to do something about it. I thank God for this charity, and I think, like you, by the way, I thought that was a brilliant opening speech, and I was ready to applause, but nobody did. But hear my applause. I thought that was super. But I, like you, want to see the end of food banks. I'd love to see the end of Christians Against Poverty. I'd love to see the end of some of the work that the Children's Society are doing and other brilliant charities around this place. I'd love to see justice for all. And I think we need to be working towards that, especially at this time.
Wonderful. Thank you, Bishop Roger.
Thank you.
You started with you weren't going to say very much, and then you came
Oh,
up
did I?
with a study synopsis of all the challenges we're facing. So bless you. Thank you for your support.
Thank you.
Okay, we would like to receive and approve the Treasurer's Report and the Independent Examiner's Report and our annual accounts. These have been pushed out by email, and those of you who like to crunch numbers will see that all is in good order and has been approved. We have to have an extra level of ratification because of the numbers of pennies coming in through the door. So it's all been nip-combed, and a wonderful. It's a wonderful read for those of you who know what looking at like. The other thing I'd like to say is that Clive has for a number of years said that he would like to step down, and he is stepping down, but he's made sure that he only steps down when everything's in total good order and he has someone very, very strong in place to replace him. And we have someone who lectures accounting at Essex University coming to take over our accounts. So I think Clive has done a brilliant job, and we look forward to working with our new treasurer in the new year. So really good news. Any questions about the accounts?
Can I just make a couple of comments? So the first comment I would make, just a thanks to Taylor Rushby, who are the chartered accountants that do our accounts, and just to note that as our independent examiners, when they were doing our accounts and doing them, they gave us an unqualified report, what that means is they didn't think there was a problem. If they think there's a problem, they have to put a qualification on. And so the sort of accounts that you want for a charity are unqualified, where there are no problems, and we have those. So I just want to make sure you were aware that they were unqualified. No, the accountants are qualified as accountants, but the accounts themselves were unqualified. Getting that right? And the Treasurer is happy, although the accounts were down in 2021 compared to 2020 in terms of income quite considerably, but then 2020 was a bumper year where people were throwing money at the food bank because it was the first year of the pandemic and we were doing things. So 2021 was always going to be a little bit less strong in terms of income, donations and grants than 2020. But I don't think the Treasurer was particularly worried because we were healthier and we did build up our reserves.
Okay, are we happy to accept the accounts as presented?
Yes.
I have no questions or queries from Zoom. Zoomers, stick your thumbs up if you're happy to accept the accounts. Those of you who've read them.
They were on the link that's been sent out.
Okay.
They are on our LinkedIn page.
I'm not seeing any objections.
Okay, thank you so much. Mike, can I ask you to just speak into the annual report and share some highlights?
Okay. If I start by just...
You'll need to be loud in the room because the sound is feeding through the Zoom.
I will try and be louder. I'll just take a moment to bring to your awareness of 3 high-vis vests that are hanging behind us. It represents 3 things to do with our volunteers, really. One, our volunteers, because each and every one is different, and they're the heart of what we do. We couldn't do what we do without them. In fact, their work is like living saints, like a stained glass window, because of the work they do, helping people. And I just want, they're amazing. Secondly, number 2, the reason why we like high-vis vests is because we're highly visible. We're highly visible in the media, we're highly visible on social media and on the radio, so that we can speak up for the poor and so people know where to go. And thirdly, in a crisis, you have people with high-vis vests, and you have that because they're symbols of people who can give the help. And it's easy to be fearful, but as Mr. Rogers says, you look for the helpers. So when you're fearful, when there's a problem, you look for the helpers. And I can tell you this, we are the helpers. We will be there. That's what the food bank does. We help. And I also want to say a big thank you to those involved with doing our annual report, which is on our LinkedIn page posted if you haven't seen it yet. It's also available via email, so you can just email us and we'll send you a copy if you need a copy. I would just like to say a big thank you to Kim and Jay for collating and styling it. Rebecca Osborne gets a big mention for the cover art, which I think includes the Bishop hiding at the back, both in the room and in the report. And Osborne, the printers, who I don't think is any relation, who have printed 1 copy in time for the AGM because it took a bit of time, but there will be more copies coming. During the year, in our annual report, we reference our volunteers, and our volunteers are the heart of what we do. We've invested them with a first aid course, with health and safety training, with the Green Doctor, and they've done amazing work helping people in need. And so amazing, the High Sheriff came, and 7 people were given certificates with thanks for their hard work, and it was well deserved. Special mentions go to the volunteer outreach project that Nikki's been running. That's done some amazing work. And Barney gets a big mention with the Highwoods training she was doing today. We're going to be opening the Highwoods Food Bank probably next month, and that's all on course. Kim gets a big mention also for the big conversation when we talked about the strategy, the new strategy for the food bank, so that we could put a strategy behind closing by 2030. And Graham gets a mention for his health and safety training for the food bank. I think that was worth a mention. So thank you for them. And so many people have done so much, going out and delivering things and picking things up, giving parcels to people, and going above and beyond, going out in unsocial hours and doing drop-offs and doing other things because people were in an emergency and a crisis and they needed the help. I also want to thank Essex County Cricket Club for their cricket bat donation. I'm not sure what we're going to do with this, so someone's making some offers for a signed by all the team 2022 Essex County Cricket Club bat. We would be delighted to know about it. So there's that. They did some brilliant stuff donating to us, and we're just really grateful for their support. We'd also like to give special mention to the URC's 3 churches doing a cookbook for the food bank. So thank you to them for their hard work on that. I think that's worth a bit of a mention. We also want to thank Penguin Books for their reading project, where they gave us books to give out. That's very kind of them. I think a special mention would go to Armin for his hard work closing down Langham. Yes, it's been a lot of hard work with that. So thank you for all the team who've been involved in that. You've done sterling work, especially those who've been cleaning the crates. They've done amazing work there. One of the other things we've been working on is how to make sure the food bank closes, and we've been getting people to write to their MPs to try and make things affordable for people, so that it's easy for people to be able to live and to live lives to the full. But we think actually things are going the other way. There are 4 social policy areas that we're looking at particularly. We're looking at reducing the waiting time for universal credit, because we know that the waiting time is a big cause of people needing to use the food bank, and they need to use it until they get their money coming in regularly. We know that 2-child limit has been a big reason why people are using the food bank, and I don't think I can say this enough. Never ever are children undeserving poor. Never ever. Children are always in need of support, and we should be funding it properly. And back in October, we've been campaigning up until October to retain the uplift to benefits, and it was taken away. And at this time of crisis, we'd like an uplift to be back. I'm not going to argue about the amount of the uplift, just for the principle of the uplift. There are lots of economists out there saying what the uplift should be. Hopefully in the mini fiscal event, or the mini budget, or the mini autumn statement, or whatever it is that our new Chancellor is going to do, hopefully he will pull a big rabbit out of the hat on that one. We hope. The 4th one we're looking at is living wage. And we became living wage accredited in 2021. And we got the leader of Essex County Council to come and visit us, and Colchester Borough Council, in fact 2 of the last leaders to visit us, and all we asked them to pledge to support the living wage, so that people who were in work but poor and finding it hard to meet their cost of living would be able to pay for their cost of living. And we were so pleased earlier this year to get an award for the Living Wage Third Sector Champions Award for the charity. That was very kind of the Living Wage Foundation to do that for us. We've also been working, doing a community organising project, which Trussell Trust helped pay for, and an advice project with our partners, Citizens Advice. Good to see Bev and Sylvia in the room. Thank you for your hard work and your support. We really appreciate working closely with Colchester Citizens Advice, because we do know that getting advice really helps people to get out of the problems. It's usually income at the moment that's been the big problem to people. In the past, the big problem was benefit changes and other things and delays, and low income was a very small factor. Now the biggest single reason why people come to the food bank is low income. And anything we can do to maximise their income through a benefit check or anything else we can do to help our clients does make a big difference, and is making a big difference. We've also tried to do quite a lot at Christmas with our Christmas hampers, and some sterling work over the years with organising students, making them up and giving them out. And, you know, it's like a military operation. Certainly when we have had the military helping us do things, that's been great as well. And we've got the Christmas Giving Tree campaign again this year, because it was such a success last year. We were very pleased for that. But there's more to read in our annual report. Do have a look for yourself. I just want to say a big thank you to all the volunteers involved. It is the volunteers, their high-vis vests, that are the ones that do the work. They're the ones that should get the credit. They do an amazing job. They are the lifeblood of the food bank, and we wouldn't be able to cope without them. And the staff team backing them up and giving them the support they need so that they can do the job. And we can be there as the people who are the people doing the helping when it is a crisis. And it is a crisis for a lot of people at the moment, and we are the ones helping them. So I want to say thank you for all of those, and for those who help us be highly visible so that we can be seen as where to go for people to get help. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. bless you for all that you do. Much appreciated. Julie, are you coming to give a report, or a dance, or a mime, or... Julie.
I just want to say that obviously lots of people have mentioned our wonderful, absolutely brilliant volunteers, so I'm not going to very much. I'm going to tell you instead about working with volunteers and applicants. So it's always a great pleasure to work with volunteers, and it's an honour too. For who else would give us freely of their time, interest, support and care? Working with applicants is a very different experience, and one which presents its own challenges. And although this is going to sound quite negative, it isn't, I promise you. We are victims of our own success. Everybody wants to volunteer with Colchester Foodbank. But despite a lot of wonderful publicity due to the leadership team, residents of Colchester have often a very strange concept of how we work. I regularly get requests to work outside office hours, after people have put in a full day of work. Quite a staggering thought. After 6 p.m, late evenings, Sundays. And whilst this is laudable, I'm afraid I have to be honest and tell people we're only open 10 till 2, 6 days a week, and for limited sessions at the satellites during the day, with the exception of Rowhedge. Another challenge is the applicants who want to work when their shifts allowed, or when there are public holidays and they've got an extra day off. And I still can't get over the lovely lady who wanted to come in on Christmas Day with her children. I do not lightly dismiss these applications, but I always explain our work pattern and give thanks for wanting to volunteer with us. I'm always delighted to suggest other ways individuals can help the food bank, and they are many. I don't blame anyone for wanting to work in the food bank family. It is a fabulous collective, which we are all proud to be part of.
Well said, Julie, thank you. Caroline, PR trustee report, please.
I really hope what I'm about to do is going to work, because I would like to begin by playing something to you, and it's a recording of a song that was sung by a group of women called Women in Harmony in Brightlingsea as part of a concert that was put on in order to raise money for the food bank. And this choir, led by Alison Benz, to whom we extend warmest thanks, sang a number of really beautiful songs, and they spent some time thinking about what songs might sum up who the food bank is and the work that we do. And of all of them, this one is the one that really stood out to me. And so I just wanted to share it with you. I can't share it on video, so you can't see all their smiling faces, but when the recording of this is finally put out, then you will be able to see that as well. But in the meantime, I hope we can just get their vocals in the room for you. This is a song called Harbour, and it is about being a harbour in the storm.
When you cross the stormy waters, come walk the shore. Bring your sons and bring your daughters. Wander no
you need a place to shelter. We're a harbour in the storm. And there are two ways in which we try to be that harbour. And one is mercy for those already battered and bruised. And the other is justice, to build better shelter. And we need to do both those things. And so, as PR trustee, everything that I try to do is about those two things, mercy and justice. Our mercy work involves, as Michael said, being the helpers, being the ones in high-vis, being the ones people can look to and know that they can turn to for help. Being those volunteers, because our volunteers are not only our volunteers when they are in the food bank, they are our volunteers when they are out in the community, when they're wearing their I Am a Food Bank Star badges, when they wear their branded hoodies and t-shirts, when they talk about the work we do. They don't turn it off at the end of a volunteer shift. Neither do any of us. Our staff, our wonderful staff, who don't switch off at the end of the working day, clock out and go home. But they carry our clients and their stories with them. And so, we do our mercy work with our high-vis on. We are here, but our mercy work is not just about handing out food that will feed a person for 3 to 4 days. It is about then connecting them, and an image we often use is we are A&E. We are the first port of call in a crisis, and then we signpost to other agencies that can help fix the problem in a more detailed and more client-specific way. And so when we do our publicity, we are not only promoting the work that we do and the help we offer, we are also promoting the work that others do and the help they offer. Because we need to make the other strands in the safety net visible also. And so we do that with the partners with whom we co-locate, with Baby Bank and Tots for Teens. We do that with the Uniform Exchange. We do that with Refocus and their marvellous craft bags for those with mental health problems and those who simply need an uplift in really grim times. We do that by offering space to those who are working with refugees, who are literally coming for a harbour in the storm. The second thing we do is our justice work. We use the platform that we have built on the television, on the radio, on social media, in the community, with every volunteer, with every person who donates, with every person who does a fundraiser, like the example I gave you at the start of this. We make ourselves visible, we build a platform from which we can speak the truths that might otherwise not be spoken. That it's expensive to be poor. That it could happen to anyone. That those who come to the food bank are just like everyone else, trying to do the best thing for themselves and their families, with so much stacked against them. We are a voice against those voices in the media that say, oh, the poor are only poor because ... it's their fault. And of course we like to believe it's their fault, because if we believe it's their fault, we don't have to fix it. But it is the collective responsibility for all of us. As the Bishop has reminded us, as our Queen reminded us in her own funeral, God bless her, as every public figure with a heart and a conscience reminds us. And so the work we do in PR, we do to feed people. We do to transform the circumstances that lead them to need to be fed. So that one day, please God, we won't need to be that open door. We won't need to be that harbour. Because the waters will be calm, the shelters will be many, and the warmth will be shared by all. So like us, promote us, share the stories we share, listen to our volunteers, and our clients and get the full picture. And that way mercy and justice will come together. Until that time, when neither will be needed. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm just conscious our other patron is here. Sir Bob, any concluding comments before I close in prayer? Can I give you the microphone? Thank you for joining us. Good to see you.
Well, first of all, I have to apologise for my late arrival. I thought I was 15 minutes early. For some reason I got 4 o'clock, so I don't know. I do apologise, but my life is a little bit in turmoil at the moment. At least I'm here. I'm still breathing. I'd like to endorse everything the Bishop said. That was an amazing contribution, and it needs to be said and said and said again, because it's just not fair. Simply not fair. And the food bank started, was it 10, 12 years ago now, at a time of great emergency, but none of us thought it was going to get worse, worse, worse. And I don't see how we're going to get out of this at the moment, but we've got to somehow continue in that rough sea, because I can't see us coming into a safe harbour anytime soon. And I'd just like to thank everybody involved, the trustees, all the volunteers, all the people who donate, and so on, because it's very much a jigsaw, and all the pieces of that jigsaw are needed. And what the food bank does with Michael and his team at Tollgate and in the satellites is that they're providing the edges to that jigsaw, and then all the volunteers and the donors and what have you are filling in pieces, so at least we try and get a picture of a representation of assisting our fellow citizens who are less fortunate ourselves. So we have an aim, the Colchester Foodbank, to close one day, but I think that day is getting further away rather than coming nearer. So thank you all for what you do, and just keep on doing what you do. Thank you.
Shall we just close in prayer? For all that has been and is good, we give thanks. For all that is to come, which we recognise will be challenging, we say yes. Lord, sustain us, we pray, by your Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you very much, folks. Any other questions or conversations, please do grab relevant people. Thank you for coming. Thank you for your contribution. Thank you, Zoomers. Goodbye.
Yeah,
Thank you, Paul, for the minutes.